Hi, this is Dr. Whitten. Happy almost Hanukkah. Hope you're having a great holiday season. Today I'm going to be talking about perhaps the most dramatic story of my life. But first, if you could give the video a thumbs up and subscribe, that would really help out. Earlier in Vlog-Nukkah, I told you about an incident that happened on my first trip to Europe in 1991. I was talking about how I had done something that was out of integrity and I was majorly inconvenienced. If you want to check out that video for that whole story, go check that out. Alright, so I was in Paris, 1994. I was planning to go to Spain the next day. I had just met this girl and we were traveling around Paris, and we were heading back to the youth hostel, and I had purchased 10 metro tickets, essentially tickets for the subway. And when I got through the turnstile at the subway, I noticed people just threw their tickets in the wastebasket, and so that's what I did. And what I didn't realize is that oftentimes there's plainclothes policemen, kind of undercover policemen, that spot check people to see if you have a ticket. And so we had just taken a train back from a museum, and we had to transfer to another train and then take that one stop to get to our youth hostel. And so we got spot checked, and I had thrown my ticket out. The girl had her ticket, so that was fine, but these two plainclothes policemen asked to see my ticket, and I said, well, I was speaking in French, and I'm not very good at French, but I told them that I had thrown it in the trash and didn't realize we were supposed to hold on to it. They essentially told me I would have to pay $30 because of that. And then they asked to see my passport. And in 1994, they had just formed the EU, and so oftentimes they weren't stamping passbooks when you entered the country, and they hadn't put a stamp in my passport. So they took my passport and were looking through it and said there's no stamp. So that was going to cost me $75 to get my passport back. And in that moment, I thought about it. I remembered back 3 years earlier to where if my integrity was not good, I realized I had to pay the price. And I thought about it in that moment. I said, no, my integrity's good. I had paid for the ticket. I hadn't done anything wrong. I hadn't done anything that I felt guilty about. And so I realized that there's no reason for me to be paying these fines because I hadn't done anything wrong. So I told them, well, I didn't swim here, right? If I was supposed to have a stamp in the passport, there must be one there. Could I take a look? Because I realized they weren't going to give me my passport back. So they gave me my passport to look for the stamp, and I ran. I tried to get out of the subway as fast as I could, and the one police stayed with the girl that I was with, and the other police was chasing after me, and I was trying to get out of the subway station and get out of there. But I got lost, and I ended up running down a stairway that put me at the other side of the same train tracks. So it was essentially at the same train tracks, but on the other side of the track. So on the one side was the girl with the cop, and there I was standing on the platform on the other side, and the other cop was running behind me, but I had run fast. And so I think I had about 5 seconds lead on that policeman. And so I stopped there for a second. I realized I was trapped. And I stood really still for a second. I said, my integrity is good. There has to be a way out. And it only took me about 3 seconds, but time stood still for those 3 seconds while I was pondering how to deal with this. Fighting the cop wasn't an option. And I realized the solution was the tracks. So I jumped on the tracks and I ran down the subway. And as I was running, I was thinking, gosh, if a train comes, that could be really bad. And I was thinking, okay, is there like a crevice in the wall that I could jump into? Or how was I going to deal with that if a train came? Should I jump to the other track? There was 2 sets of tracks. Anyways, I ran all the way down to the station that I was heading for in the first place and took off my jacket in case they radioed ahead that there was some guy in a purple jacket, right? So I took off my jacket and I got out of the station as quickly as I could and went and sat in a park somewhere for like a half hour. And then I realized the girl might have told them where our youth hostel was, and my backpack and all my stuff was there, and I thought, gosh, I better rush over there before the police get there and get my backpack, which was in the basement where we left our backpacks during the day. And so I got there, and when I was in the basement there, I'm telling you all the juicy details. There was the most beautiful Asian girl I think I'd ever seen at that point. And she was saying, "Oh, hi, how are you? I just got to Paris. I don't know where to go." She was acting very friendly and flirtatious, and I realized this was a trap. If I fell for this, I was going to get caught. And I realized this was a test. And so I said, "I'm sorry, I have to go." And I truly was sorry. So I took my backpack and I got out of there. It had been like an hour since I'd run from the police. I figured, they must have given up on me at that point. And so I went back into the subway, thought, okay, I'll take that to the international train station, and off I go to Spain. Well, okay, so a couple minutes go by and I get on the train, I get on the subway, and I get tapped on my shoulder from behind. And I'm like, oh my God, is that like the policeman tapping me? Because I don't know anyone in Paris. And I turned around slowly, and it was the girl. And I was like, oh my God, what are the odds? I mean, there's subways that come every 5 minutes, every 3 minutes. And for each subway, there's like 10 cars. What are the odds that I get on the car that girl is on them? And I'm thinking, what's the cosmic meaning of this? I couldn't figure out why. I mean, because we were going to separate that day anyways. We had just been hanging out and going to the museum. So I thought that was that was the last I was going to see of her. Anyway, so to get to the international station, I had to transfer trains. And so I got off at the stop that I needed to transfer trains at. And so when I got on the platform to get off that subway, she's standing behind me, the girl, and she pulls me back on the train. And she said, on that platform was the cop that I had run from. I hadn't seen him. I hadn't seen them on that. I would have ended, if I hadn't been on that train with that girl, I would have been standing there on the platform with the cop that I had run from, like with my mouth open or something. And she was the only one that could have saved me because she identified him. I thought, oh my God, that was like a religious experience for me. I'm like, this is too good. I mean, this is like a movie. And so I said, how is it that you are on this train? I mean, it's been an hour since I ran from that police. And she said something that made my blood curdle. She said, they stopped all the trains in Paris for an hour looking for you. They thought if you had run from the cops for such a minor issue, they figured you must be a serious criminal. And so they were gonna find you. So they stopped all the trains, at least in that part of Paris, looking for me. And she said that train was the next train to come. They had stopped them for an hour, and they finally had started them back up again. So that's why she was on that train. Anyway, I thought that was absolutely cosmic. And so I got above ground. I just stopped at the next stop and went above ground and walked a couple miles to the international train station. And then I got on the train. I had to wait 5 hours to get on the train to go to Spain. And that was a long train, like 100 yards long. And at that point, I'd been catching a cold and I was sick. And so I got on that train and I sat down, and this girl came and sat next to me on that train. And it was another girl that I had met at the youth hostel who lived a block from where that train was going to end up in Barcelona. And I was so sick, I was exhausted, just the stress of all that. I was pretty sick. And she lived a block from the train station in Barcelona, and she lived with a family there. And so when I got to Barcelona, she said, "Oh, just come with me," and they had a room for me there. And so the universe just absolutely took care of me. I realized my integrity was good, and everything just worked out like magic. I'd never had a story like that happen before. Sorry, this is a long story, but the details were just unbelievable. So just remember that whenever you're in life, just look in, don't try to cut corners. Just say, what's the right thing to do in this moment? And the universe will take care of you. There's always a solution if your integrity's in place. So love to hear your comments if you've had similar situations. Love to hear about that. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe, and have a wonderful holiday. I'll see you soon.